construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you on this lovely fall Wednesday morning. As you know, Wednesday is one of my favorite days because in just a few minutes we're going to have Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh with us for Ask Dr. Doreen. You will have the ability to ask her your questions in real time, and that's a lovely thing. A little later on today we'll have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. My co-host, Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson, will be here with us, and we have a wonderful guest with us today, Thorkil Sonne, the fabulous entrepreneur, Danish entrepreneur, who is helping to make it possible for more of our kids to get training and go into the workforce in fabulous jobs that they're well suited for. Life-changing interview that we'll be having a little bit later on today. I want to start the show by reminding you of a couple of different things. This show is meant to be fully interactive. We want you to send us your questions, your comments, your concerns. You can do that in a bunch of different ways. Emily's going to show you some of the different ways. I'm going to remind you that if you go to www.autism-live.com, you can watch the live show. Just look at the computer screen, click on the go button, and you can be watching the show. But next to that box, there's a white box where you can type in anything that you would like, hit enter. It shows up magically right here on the screen. It's totally free for you. There is no login. We don't get to know your personal information unless you tell us. So if you'd like us to get back to you with some if it's a study that you'd like or something that you want to know more about, make sure that you include your way of being contacted in that so we can get back to you. But we hope that you will participate with us. Now, I'm all a Twitter today because today is the beginning of our holiday giveaway. That's right. Every hour of the live show from now until December 20th, we are going to be giving something away. And my office is full and filling with really incredible things. This week, our focus is on smart gifting, things we might want to give to a teacher, a therapist, someone along those lines. And sometimes we start with smart gifting by giving ourselves something. So during the 2 hours today, for the first hour, we're going to be giving away a subscription for 6 months to Skills. You've heard us talk about it here on the show. I personally love this product. There are so many different ways that you can use Skills, and we know that if you've been watching, it's something you've been itching to try. We're giving away a free 6 months subscription for one child on Skills. At some point during this hour, you're going to see a word flash on the screen. You will need to note what that word is and write to us. Emily will put the address that you can write to us at. You have until 7 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow morning to write in and put in the heading of your email, the prize for the hour that you were watching. And this hour, it is that Skills 6 month subscription for one child. In the next hour, we'll be giving away a different gift. And every hour, there will be something new to add to the pile. So we hope you'll participate. You have until 7 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow to enter that contest. Of the correct answers, there will be one chosen at random, and we will let you know during the first hour of tomorrow's show who won that subscription. All right, without further ado, it is time for Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen, and we welcome Dr. Doreen Grampichet to the show. Thank you for
Shannon.
being here.
It's lovely to be here.
I'm
Thank you.
so thrilled to have you here this morning because this is a wonderful opportunity for our viewers to ask you, and you're a true expert in the field of autism.
Thank you.
But I always say a visionary as well.
No, thank you so much.
This is a great opportunity for you to ask your questions in real time, as we mentioned before. You can do it in lots of different ways, but one of the easiest is to go to www.autism-live.com. There's a white box there. Type whatever you'd like there, hit enter. Always like to remind everybody at the start of the show that no one on the program can give child-specific advice, including Dr. Doreen Grampichet, and there's a good reason for that. It's a disservice to our kids, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, right. It would be very unethical for us to do that as well. So we'll give information as much as we can. We'll give guidance, but we wouldn't be able to. There's no way that our advice will absolutely pertain to your child. We don't know enough information. We haven't met your child or had the opportunity to assess your child.
And we encourage you to write in and be as specific as you can be, but even then, it's not enough information. So, but having said that, the advice and the information that you can get here, it will really help you to progress in figuring out what to do next, what question to ask next some of the time, and that's
absolutely
invaluable. So I want to start with a question that somebody emailed to us a little bit earlier in the week. Bless their hearts, that they want to know I don't mean to laugh but you know how life is funny sometimes when it's over. Someday you will laugh about this. Not this week, though. My almost 6-year-old son is verbal and fully independent with his toileting. Woohoo, right? He is going through a stage of putting things in the toilet, especially expensive electronics. I believe it is basically sending a screw you message to me because he can tell that I get angry when he does it. This is because the behavior occurs when I put limits or demands on him. I love how you're noticing that that's when it happens. I don't know what to do, and we have just moved into a 2-story house with 3 toilets. I've thought of toilet locks, but he usually takes himself to the toilet, and he is probably old enough to undo them. I'm going to limit access as much as possible, but I have an older 10-year-old who has iPods, DS consoles, etc. I've tried punishment by taking away favorite items for a time, but every lapse is very expensive. I just want it to stop. Also, he actually loves playing with iPods, DS games, etc. So taking away these items will be punishing him, so I'll do that too. What else can I do?
Okay. There's a lot of different parts to this. So
yes, I'm going to let you have the email so that you can...
Okay, so this is a 6-year-old, and he's fully independent with toileting. So he's going through a stage of putting objects in the toilet, especially... So it says especially expensive electrical items. Does he... I don't know if he throws away other objects as well, or just electrical objects. I would, this behavior, the first response is, in order to deal with it correctly, you have to prevent it and then reteach him how to do it appropriately. So anything that's, if you could put away electrical items, if you could lock the toilet, it'll at least take him a little bit longer to unlock the toilet. Perhaps you can lock the doors. In other words, do whatever you can. In ABA, we call it blocking. So you're basically preventing the item, the object, the action from happening. If you're correct, that, and this is what's hard for a behavior analyst, that you always need to kind of try to figure out the function of a behavior, why it's happening, and the parent here is saying, Tara, I think, is saying, or that you should actually, he's trying to say, whatever and he's not very happy with the demands. So if he's trying to do it to get your negative attention, if he's trying to get back at you, then what you do is you don't get angry. So you just don't give him that. You don't give him the reaction that he's trying to get out of you. So if he does that, you're very, very matter of fact and you're not angry about things. And obviously, you would, what you're doing, by the way, is not punishment. It's response costs. You're taking away some things from him, which is perfectly fine. So continue doing exactly that. So first you're blocking it. Second, you're not showing a reaction. Third, if it does happen, without showing a reaction, you simply go and take an item away that he really cares about, and that's the sort of what you should do immediately. Okay, so that's sort of the status quo. That'll put things in a I guess it'll stop things from getting worse right away. Now, the main thing is, now that this is what gets very hard for me when I try to give advice for kids that I don't know. Does he understand, does he connect the let's say, his behavior to what it causes? Does he understand that what he's doing is bad? And why is it bad? Because right now it seems to me that he doesn't really realize that his behavior is upsetting like it's hurting his brother, perhaps, and it doesn't sound like he wants to upset or hurt his brother. He just wants to kind of get your attention. Right. So all of these things lead me to believe that at the same time that you're not giving him attention for doing the behavior, you're trying to block the behavior, and if the behavior happens to happen, you will response cost it. Aside from that, you need to be spending more positive attention with him. So in other words, he's trying to seek out attention. So give him attention for good behavior. So one of the things you could do potentially is kind of an overcorrection, or it's a process, it's part of an overcorrection procedure. So you might actually want to have a pile of electronics, and perhaps they should be useless electronics, like maybe old stuff that doesn't really work, and just put it in a basket in the bathroom and actively practice with him taking these objects back to the bedroom and putting them away. In other words, reward the reverse of what he's doing. So, because the whole concept is you're taking away attention for bad behavior, you want to make sure he understands what good behavior is, and that you want to give it a lot of attention and reward. So I would say probably that's your best bet, is to teach the reverse of the behavior. To not react. A lot of times our kids are just doing things because they kind of enjoy the reaction they get out of us, and to block it. But the most important part of all of this is that when a child starts to try to get negative attention-seeking, like when they do negative attention-seeking behavior, that means they're just not getting enough attention. Now, you might be giving him a ton of attention, but from his perspective, it's just not enough. So you need to spend that one-on-one time rewarding him from some other good things. Trust me, if he gets enough attention from other things, he's just not, this is not going to be, getting you upset is not going to be that valuable to him anymore.
One of the reasons why I so love this is because I think a lot of us as parents would get one side of that and not the other.
Right.
And if you only do one side of it, it's not going to be effective. But what you're talking about is making sure that you take away the attention for the thing that's happening and give it in other areas. And if we were to leave one of those out, it wouldn't get the job done.
Right, because he's trying to get attention.
Yeah.
Right? So if not with this, he'll do it a different way. And the thing is also, you and I often talk about this, is that as parents, I know this myself, as parents we often think we can deal with things just on the fly as it's happening, and you can't. I know that you have we all have busy lives and there's a lot of stuff going on, but for me it's very easy to comment on these things because everything that happens, I see it as an intervention, I see it as a treatment, and I do this with my kids too. I mean, I will go and sit down and say, okay, this is a problem behavior, this is what I want to change, the antecedents, these are the consequences, and I actually make it happen. Like, good example, last night I'm in bed and it's like past midnight and I'm thinking, this is not really good. My 14-year-old son has now gradually gotten to the point where, and it's my fault too, where his bedtime has shifted to like 11:30 or something gradually, right? And it's partially because the two of us get sucked into these crazy TV series, and I never have time to do anything, you know, so I'm watching this stuff with him until late at night. So I thought to myself, now if I go back to him and say, you have to change this, we have to start taking your schedule back to 10 o'clock. He's a 14-year-old kid in 10th grade. He's just going to laugh at me,
Right.
you know? Let's be serious. He's going to say, yeah, okay, sure, Mom, and then he'll go to his room and he'll still be on his computer until 12.
Right.
So I need to do a shaping procedure so that he doesn't really notice it. You know, good thing he's in school, he won't hear this right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 5 minutes each night gradually push it back, very gradually. It'll take me, I don't know, months maybe, whatever, or 2 weeks, but it'll be a very gradual procedure. And in the mornings, of course, I'll wake him up a little tiny bit earlier, so, you know, he will adjust without necessarily even thinking about it. So a lot of times you actively have to change your life process in order to make things work. Otherwise, it just becomes too difficult. And like something like this, I can understand. You know, I can just see it. He takes electronics, throws it in the bathroom, sibling gets upset, mom's dealing with all of that. And that's just terrible. It's very difficult.
Absolutely. But to the child, there's an element of it there's a paycheck.
Right, right.
So very, very interesting.
And I mean, and he might have other reasons, and that's why it's important if you have a behaviorist in your life, it would be good to do a functional analysis. See, maybe he's not doing it just to get you upset. Maybe he likes the sound of electronics in water. I don't know.
You know, the famous story in our family was that when my sister and my brother and I were little, somebody gave us a bunch of teeny tiny little perfume bottles.
Yeah.
And our favorite thing in the world was to flush them down the toilet.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. And it's a famous story in my family because my father, you know, after the second time fixing the toilet, and the plumber said, why are there 12 little bottles of perfume caught in the thing? My father's head came off and flew around the room, and he forbid all of us to do it. And of course, I think it was my brother who went in and just got caught flushing them down. I have no idea to this day. I remember doing it, and it was fun. It was like theater. Yeah. We stood there and watched it swirl and go down. I couldn't tell you more about it, but, you know, all three of us found it enthralling.
And perhaps for different reasons. Like perhaps you watched it go down in a circle and you thought that's fascinating, but your brother perhaps even increased his behavior when your dad got mad because his thing was control.
Right.
Like, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. I want to, you know, who knows? We all have different reasons.
And it wasn't as expensive. It was a gift, these little bottles of perfume, but it was expensive when the plumber came.
Yes.
So anyway, bless your heart. And we also sent you a message saying, you know, look and see whether your homeowner's insurance will cover any of the cost of the electronics that you've lost. Write us back and let us know how it works for you, trying to give more attention in other areas and blocking the behavior. We'd love to hear back from you.
And one final thing I just quickly read is that since you know that this behavior seems to increase when you place demands on him, so he's trying to avoid the demands, which is more important probably. Just make sure he can't avoid the demands. Just make sure that when you do place demands on him, perhaps you're watching him for the next 20 minutes. So don't reduce your demands. You know, we don't realize how our kids' behaviors change ours. You know, we always talk about how we do things, consequence to behavior, and then we change our kids' behaviors, but you realize that it works both ways. So because you're trying to avoid him throwing things in the bathroom, don't stop your behavior. He's basically punishing you. Every time you place a demand on him, he will throw something in the toilet. Yeah. So he's punishing you, and so the likelihood is that you have shied away from placing more demands. You're avoiding it. Now, we end up doing that with our kids. We walk on eggshells around certain topics, you know, because we know it'll upset them. Yeah. And so don't change your behavior. If you change your behavior, you've told him it worked. So keep placing demands. Just watch him and prevent him from doing that behavior right after you place a demand.
Great advice. Okay, this is a very open-ended question, but they wrote, my 5-year-old son is having a lot of behavior issues in the classroom. What can I do to help reduce the behavior issue? Now, we don't know what the behavior is, so very open-ended, but maybe we can talk a little bit about when you're getting those notes from school, how do you proceed? Because I think a lot of parents feel helpless. So he's doing something, and we have an
Right.
expectation. Well, then this teacher is supposed to do something. We're not allowed in the classroom a lot of the time, and yet we get the note. Your child is doing this at school. So
Right.
what can we do as parents?
Well, I mean, that's a very difficult question to answer because I don't know the relationship with the school. And I think the most important thing is we all have different relationships with our teachers and schools. Do we have an age on the child?
5.
5. So we're talking elementary, obviously very young. And so I think, it's such a difficult balancing act with teachers because you're not there and you don't want to go in and like yell at the teacher and they take it out on your kid when you're not there,
we all
So
worry about that.
it really is a balancing act. I guess I was always very lucky. I changed schools for my kids just a couple of times, but I ultimately found schools where either the teachers were good or the principal was spectacular. Like I could always depend on the principal to understand things and to take my side, I guess, or to understand what was or wasn't good. And if a teacher went out of line, the principal, you could turn to that person. So I would probably just, if you have concerns about the teacher, then you should probably find someone in the school who's a senior and have a conversation. If it really is just a matter of how do I communicate better with the teacher, there's multiple ways. I mean, a lot of times teachers will stop sending you notes home if you call them every single day. Call her every day and say, okay, let's talk about this. I need to know what happened. How did it happen? How do we do this? Plus, the other thing is, get some IBT training perhaps for the teacher. I mean, sometimes you're talking about very nice teachers who simply don't know what to do. And maybe with some training, it'll give them some guidance. And we have modules. This is the holidays coming up, and you can easily purchase these modules. I think they're like $7.50 or $10 or something each.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm not supposed to tell you, but starting tomorrow, we're going to have some that we're going to be giving away on the show.
Great. Yeah.
And I was just on there last night looking at some because I'm going to be giving a teacher for the holiday, and there are some amazing, very specific trainings just for teachers
Really
about
good ones, yeah. I
about
like them.
setting
I
up
love
a
them.
token economy,
I know,
how
they're
to
lovely.
deal with behaviors in the classroom, and they break it down into different
They're
kinds.
just spectacular. I'm
It's
so
really
proud
amazing.
of the gang for that stuff. I just looked at it's open on my second screen all the time now. And I'm amazed. I mean, the number of trainings we've done now for teachers, actually, the educators section is the largest. It's huge. There's a lot of trainings there. It's awesome.
And that's at ibehavioraltraining.com. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking about, and that really struck me yesterday looking at it, is there's so many trainings. It's sort of like going to the ultimate gift shop. There's so many things you go, ooh, I'd like to do that. Oh, I'd like to do that. But if nothing else, there is a training on behavior success outside of the classroom dealing with emergency preparedness. I think it's either $7 or $10, and even if that was the only one you gave, think about the peace of mind knowing that your teacher is prepared in case of an emergency to deal with whatever might come up with your child and has the best strategy to have your child safe in an emergency.
Right. We're doing actually
$10 worth, the peace of mind.
Yeah, we just started to do a whole bunch of these for first responders. That's why there's that there now, because we realized, we need to do one for teachers too. But yeah, so that's really important. But I mean, so just going back to this question, you're dealing with different aspects of it. You want to make sure your teacher is trained. You want to make sure your teacher has access to you. I would probably contact the teacher pretty regularly. There's some parents have actually gone to the point of having a camera installed in the classroom, because these days it's so easy and inexpensive to have a camera. I have cameras all over my house, and I can log on here at my desk and see them. So, you can easily do that. Parents, if the group of parents in the classroom all agree, then you're sharing the cost of that, and it's beautiful to be able to see your kids. There's nothing against the law. That's something that actually you can have. It's just a matter of all the parents agreeing, because now you're observing their kids as well.
Yes.
And so those are other things. I mean, I know it's difficult. A lot of, but I honestly, I think the main thing is try to stay in contact. Sometimes teachers are just, and in my family I have some teachers, and I have to tell you that they just get frustrated because there are also parents who simply don't want to deal with anything.
Yeah.
They just want to drop their kids off and don't care.
Yeah, that's very prevalent. So staying involved is a great thing. I always love the idea of volunteering. Sometimes it's difficult to get time to come in and observe your child, but if you volunteer, they'll almost always let you come in and cut up paper and glue things and be there or do center time. A very beneficial thing to do. All right, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back more with your questions for Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. Stick with us.
Hello, fellow activists. Last week, we talked about step number 1, accept and embrace this challenge. Now we're moving on to step number 2, educate yourself. After my son Wyatt was diagnosed, I put up a sign over my home office that said Autism Central. I went to school in my home office every night after my husband and Wyatt had gone to bed because I was determined to learn everything there was about autism. That's because knowledge is power. Visit all the autism websites you can, read all the books you can, learn about all the organizations that are out there that offer free guides to help you. Some of them even offer mentors to help guide you. Find out about local support services. Find out about what educational services your child is entitled to. Get to every autism conference and seminar you can. I'll never forget the first autism conference that I went to. The first speaker was a beautiful, brilliant woman named Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. She spoke about a therapy called Applied Behavioral Analysis, or ABA. She told about how it could improve the life of children with autism, and in some cases, recover them. Now, despite the fact that Wyatt had been diagnosed for over a year, nobody had told me about this therapy. I remember calling my husband on the cell phone and saying, "Honey, I met the woman who is going to help improve Wyatt's life." And I'm happy to say that 8 years later, that's true. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed by all the information that's out there? Well, you're not alone. But try different approaches for your child. Trust your gut. Just 40 short years ago, mothers were told if their child had autism that they would have to be institutionalized, and in some cases they were actually blamed for their child's autism for failing to bond with the child. That was called refrigerator mother syndrome. Well, thank goodness times have changed. So until next time, learn everything you can about autism and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Doreen. We are here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. She is a true expert in the field of autism, been treating children on the autism spectrum for multiple decades. I don't like to give away how long. I think it's rude because you don't look what your age must be.
Yeah.
So in any case, I also like to remind everybody that she's a visionary in the field of autism. You really have a far-reaching ability to look ahead and see and get in place things that help our kids. So kind of goes hand in hand with a question that somebody just wrote in. Hello, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. This is more like a general information question for parents. Why is it that most ABA companies only focus on the behaviors aspect and do not consider teaching skills like CARD? I thought that insurance considered ABA payable because of the whole concept of teaching rather than just the behaviors. Could you please clarify this, and thank you for your time.
That's so awesome. Oh, I love this parent. I asked the same question. You know, the field. So first of all, insurance is paying for ABA, and they don't know what that is. Let's just put it that way. Like, they really don't. So they're going to pay for the board-certified behavior analyst whether or not they're teaching. So I've been working with so many insurance companies now for so many years that I'm really trying to educate them on what ABA is. This was a big sudden swoop to insurance companies. They had no clue what's happening, and it's all getting approved and funded and so on. They really don't, which is also why a lot of our denials are being denied by pediatricians, for instance, who are on panels that they don't know what ABA is, they don't understand, they expect the child to be done with ABA in 6 months. There's a lot of education that still needs to go to insurance companies, and talking about it here makes me think I need to write something for them that's maybe more, well, our book's coming out soon, so it'll talk more about it. But yeah, so going back, the way ABA developed in the field was, there was, you know, I guess I'll go all the way back to 78, and 1978 or so, there was very, very limited amount of ABA anywhere in the country. In fact, it wasn't even called ABA, it was called behavior modification. And back then, we were still struggling with other things. There was a group of people that said, oh, this is all about parenting. There was a lot of different things going on in the 70s. In somewhere around 80s or so, and I was at UCLA, and it was really pretty much the only program in the country that was working with autism. Autism was very, very low prevalence back then, very low. I mean, we had 1 in 10,000 kids, max. We had 1 in 15 to 1 in 10,000 kids. So it was not something anybody knew anything about. And we're talking, what is this now, 2013? So it was like 45 years ago. Good Lord.
I know.
How is that possible? No, 35
years ago, I was gonna say.
35 years ago. 35 years ago, yeah. Anyway, so back then, that was just a time where people had no idea of what autism is, and so there wasn't much ABA. The Lovaas ideology that came out of UCLA, and this was Professor Ivar Lovaas, we were trained to teach. More than anything else, we were trained on techniques that have to do with teaching. That's why Lovaas became sort of correlated to the term discrete trial training. It's not really discrete trial training, but it's, you know, part of what we did with Lovaas at UCLA was discrete trial. But we were experimenting really with different teaching techniques to see how they work best on kids with autism. And all we had concluded, if you look at the Me book, which was the first book that Ivar wrote about how to work with kids with autism, and I used to use that book to teach undergrads. But I mean, I was an undergrad then myself, but then later became a grad, and I was teaching undergrads using those techniques, and all it was had to do with just techniques to get their attention, techniques to keep instructions short, you know, ways to prompt the child so that they would. So we were developing all this stuff. We were developing different prompts. You know, how do you, if I put an object in front of someone, they pay more attention to it. If I hold it up, they do. We literally would experiment, do research, publish it, and write it in the book. Like that was constantly happening for 12 years. And then we're talking, so that was just coming out of the Lovaas camp, and then on the other side there was all the behavioral stuff that had already been written by Skinner, B.F. Skinner. And Skinner, all of his work was accepted. Of course, it was like this whole field of psychology called learning psychology, and all of that though was not applied to autism. It was just applied to everything else. I mean everything, but not specifically to autism. So it was Ivar Lovaas who was the first person to take those concepts of how to change behavior and apply them to autism. Now, because we were also developing teaching techniques and all these principles of behavior change were already in place, then you bring them together and now you have what really should be ABA, and that's what CARD does. I was trained solely by Ivar, met Skinner a few times, but mainly just by Ivar. And then I developed a lot and learned a lot over the course of the years and added things to the CARD program and so on. But most behaviorists, then what happened is that, like, we did this whole program with UCLA, and then there was only a few of us that that graduated from that program. So our thinking is quite different, but then we've been around. So I've been around for, 35 years. So I've trained a ton of people. So if someone has worked at CARD, which at least half the population out there providing services have at some point been at CARD.
Right.
And if they've stayed long enough to be more than just a junior therapist, they've learned all of it. They've learned how to design teaching programs and how to monitor behavior and modify behavior. But other than that, the field exploded and became ABA, and then universities they were not teaching how, curriculum. They weren't teaching how to teach. They were teaching techniques that had mostly to do with behavior change, reducing challenging behaviors. So the field just hasn't developed, but God willing, within the next 5 or 10 years, we'll keep perfecting it, and more behaviorists will learn how to teach, because that's so important. If you just, try to, I think that's part of the reason that people are always asking for card centers in different states now, because if you just try to get rid of behavior, it's useless. Like, the child is exhibiting challenging behaviors because they want something.
Right.
And unless you teach them a more appropriate way to get that, it's just going to keep coming back.
Yeah, I one of the reasons why I'm always saying here to all of you, if you're looking for an ABA provider, that I encourage you to go to centerforautism.com first. See if there's a location close to you. I always like to say there are many ABA providers out there, and there are many good ones, and a lot of them, as you said, have people that have at some point been trained by you or by people at CARD. But for me, I know I see lots of friends that have ABA providers that weren't CARD, and the idea of, I remember very early on the concept of, and seeing a video that you did talking about decreasing some behaviors and increasing other behaviors, and that's what we're going to do to catch your child up.
Right.
And to me, that was, I went, oh, that I can understand, that I can get behind, that gives me infinite amounts of hope.
Yeah, and that's all it is. I mean, that's all it is.
But a lot of people aren't getting that. I mean,
Right.
I feel for this person who wrote in, because a lot of people, I see other parents and they're not getting that level of focus and that level of hope. So I hope
funny.
that you can continue to spread what you're doing.
Thank you. We are actually, it's growing. For me, it's always been this challenge of growing it fast enough that I can meet some of the demand, but then not too fast to lose the quality.
Yeah.
But we're expanding pretty fast, and we have so much, the more quality people you have in an organization, the faster they make it grow.
Yes.
And CARD's really grown, and we have an amazing group of quality, just incredible people here. So I always say I'm just the lucky one, because I get to take all the credit for all these spectacular people out there, that work at CARD. They're just amazing people. But the truth is, Shannon, that that slide that you're talking about is the single slide probably that I've had in my talks for more than 10 years. I can't lose that slide, because that slide really explains what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. But I do have to also say, it would be remiss of me not to say that for those of you who are watching who think, oh, well, clearly Dr. Grant-Pichet knows what she's talking about, do all the other people who work for her do? My son was getting therapy from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders for 3.5 years before I ever met Dr. Grant-Pichet. And we, people used to talk about you to me, and I saw the videos, and I was like, okay, I love the fact that she made this building, but
where is she?
Here,
What does she do?
It didn't mean as much to me at that time, because we had people who were helping us.
Yes.
That I was like, well, these are the incredible people. And somebody pointed out to me, look at how many incredible people. Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah.
And then I had a drive to want to meet you and to know more about you. And I saw clearly after a period of time, because it's not a coincidence that there are so many rock star therapists at CARD. It comes from you and to the training department, and it's a killer training department, because
we have a killer training department. We really do. Honestly,
amazing.
they're amazing. Yeah, they really are. They truly are. But it really just comes from being able to, we say all the time to people, like, we're trying to teach our kids. It's so funny. We're constantly talking about teaching our kids perspective taking, and then there are so many people that don't know how to take someone else's perspective just in general life. And I think the success of CARD comes from that one principle. That's the number one thing I teach my staff, supervisors, and then hopefully supervisors are teaching further down, is just take a moment to live in this person's shoes, whether it's the parent or the child or the therapist you're overseeing, whatever it is. Just take a moment and see the world from their side and understand the fears of the parents, understand how the child sees the world. That's like the biggest thing, is like, if you want to help this child, you got to see the world from their perspective, and then it works.
I would just say to people, if you're watching and you're getting ABA, and a lot of times people write in and say, I'm getting it now, I've got it through the insurance. I just don't know if it's quality ABA. If you don't have in your home or in your program what we were just talking about, that somebody is taking your perspective, taking your child's perspective, then consider switching. Because otherwise you're spinning your wheels and not getting the full effect of what you could be getting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same with anything if you really think about it. Why do we change, let's say, our dentist? Because they don't care about the things that you care about, you know, or they care about things you don't care about. Whatever it is, they don't take your perspective. So you're always looking for someone who has that. It's just they have a certain knowledge, but they need to have the empathy and the understanding of the things that are important to you and how you process the world.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you know, that's key. That's very important. But also, I can understand the frustration of parents, because there are young guys out there, really young, just got their master's degree and now are supposed to be telling you what to do. You know, it's hard. It's very, very hard. There's a lot of supervisors who've never had a child, and I try to really teach them a lot how to empathize and understand, and there's no way you can understand. I can't even. I mean, I've been with parents for a long time, you know, and I've lived the life of autism for a long time, and I've seen more sadness than any single parent would have ever seen. But you know, and I still come after 30 years. I will still leave clinics sometimes just crying and like thinking to myself, "Oh my God, how do they handle this?"
Yeah.
But you never know until it's your experience. You just don't.
Yes, we all know that.
Yeah.
But I can say, you know, you talk about the young, just has their master's degree, going to help you with your child. That happens on so many occasions.
Yes.
That, you know, the people who came through our door and made a difference were people who were in the process of getting their master's degree or just got their bachelor's degree. And some of them even were working for their bachelor's.
Yep.
And they changed our lives. When
Yep.
you've got a rock star who's trained well, you know,
none of that matters. It's their dedication matters. Their continual plugging along and diligence and dedication and caring, and that's like one of the things I really love about our staff. They love the kids.
And so our good, we love Mike Hipple, who watches the show on a regular basis. He wants to know, is he still living? I'm assuming that you mean Lovas.
No, he passed away.
It's like 2 years ago, isn't it?
No, I think it was longer than that. I'm trying to remember the year. No, it was definitely longer than that.
We covered it on the show, so it's some time since we started the day that he passed away.
And I'm going with, you know, sort of when I met Greg already, he was best. So I would say it was before 2010. It was before, I think maybe 2010, around there, maybe 3 years ago or so. Yeah.
So yes, unfortunately, he is no longer with us, and so what, you know, but notable to say that Dr. Grandpichet was a part of all of that was happening with Lovas. You were a part of that young autism experiment, where we got all of this, the beginning of everything good that's happened.
I was with her for 12 years, really long time,
really important to note. We are going to take a quick break and come back with some more of your questions. We're going to talk about poop. Yes, we're going to go there, so stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For November, we're going to be working on memory with our kids, and what better way than doing a scavenger hunt. The materials you'll be needing for this activity are a camera, cardstock, scissors, glue, and whatever objects you want your child to be hunting for. Step 1, you're the hunter. Find all the objects you want your child looking for and take photos of them. Now that you've collected all the objects you want your kids hunting for later, print out the images and then cut them out and glue them on a cardstock just so they're organized and isolated. Now that the scavenger hunt template is done, put all the objects back where they belong. Remember, we're working on memory, so put them in places that your kids would normally find them. You want them to be successful. We'll make this one really easy to find. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with your kids. Remember, the scavenger hunt is supposed to be a fun way to work on memory. Well, until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live, and this particular segment we call Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grandpichet is here with us live answering your questions. She is, as we were talking about before, an expert in the field of autism, having been working with children for multiple decades. And we've got, I said we were going to talk about poop, so be prepared. Put that sandwich down. Here we go. My 8-year-old son recently began playing with his poop and even tasting it. This is a story we've heard before. It is freaking me out. He has never done anything like this before. Why now, and how do I get him to stop?
You know, I guess it's easy to answer this. So the reason that, well, first of all, there could be a medical reason why he could potentially have some sort of shortage of something that he's doing this behavior. You should probably have him tested, just get a blood test and make sure there's no, low levels of any kind of nutrient. This does happen with some of our kids. Like, you will also see kids, for instance, eating chalk or various other things, and actually their body is craving some sort of nutrient. With poop, it could be curiosity, it could be a sensory need because it has a certain texture, a certain smell, whatever. It's funny, the word, this is a really interesting thing that I know because I'm so old in this field, but see, I always talk about self-stimulatory behavior, and I talk about how I think it shouldn't have been called self-stimulatory, it should have been called self-soothing or calming, because a lot of the self-stimulatory behaviors are actually for the purposes of calming, like body rocking actually calms you and so on. Lining up actually reduces your anxiety and all that sort of thing, but the in the old days, in the 70s and early 80s, we had different types of self-stimulatory behaviors. Yes, we had the body rocking, but we had things where really, like, a lot of the kids were kind of very lethargic, and they would do certain things to stimulate themselves. Okay. And there was quite a period of time, like maybe 5 years or 10 years, where all the literature pointed to the concept that the children have very high sensory thresholds. So pain, they don't feel very well. Heat, cold, just certain feelings, textures, they don't, which is why they seek those out in order to stimulate themselves. So self-stimulatory, they would like to try to kind of wake themselves up. And they would do various types of things, like, now I think a lot of the kids, when they touch textures, it's calming them, but in those days, like, pain for sure was one of the things. Self-injurious behavior, the whole concept of self-injurious behavior is still explained by the child can't feel pain, so they actually produce injury because you have to pass a certain threshold in order to feel it. And so with things like this, I often wonder if the sense of smell and taste and so on, which to us is just over the top and it's so difficult, with a child with autism perhaps is not. Perhaps it just enters their threshold of what they can receive from a sensory perspective. I don't know. But I mean, clearly it's not good for them. So if there is a nutritional imbalance that needs to be balanced, you need to do that. You need to find out what that is. And then, quite honestly, I mean, it's a behavior you want to reduce. What are the ways you reduce behavior? You change the antecedent or you change the consequence. What are some of the antecedents you can change? Don't give access. You prevent access. You make sure, and this is very hard because we're not watching our kids 24/7, obviously. So somehow, but please do all the things you can do, like lock the bathroom doors, put locks on the toilets. Perhaps this child is in diapers, which is why they're accessing it. Change them frequently. And then on the other end, when the behavior happens, you have to either take away a reward or you have to produce a punishing type experience. So, one of the things is overcorrection. Overcorrection is having the child, perhaps in this case, you would have the child I can't answer that. I don't know how it's happening. I don't know if the child is in a diaper. I don't know, because if, let's say, they're in a diaper and they're pulling it out of the diaper, then you would have the child, let's say, take the diaper, throw it away, wash their hands repeatedly, sort of an overcorrection procedure, which is somewhat not fun, so it's not kind of worth the effort.
Right.
But mainly it's something that is not fun or pleasant, has to follow the behavior so that the child avoids the behavior, because every time they do it, they get some sort of aversive right after.
Okay, let's assume that it's an older child, because they're 8 years old. What if it's not in a diaper? Because the one thing that she said was nothing like this has ever happened before.
True.
So what if it isn't somebody who's in a diaper? What if they're just using the toilet?
So it's always the same thing. You try to block access. So regardless of what, it's easier, obviously, if they're not in a diaper, because then how are they accessing it?
Okay.
They have to be able to...
So follow them in the bathroom?
Yeah, and you're assuming it's in the bathroom. It could also be in a closet, right? It could be anywhere.
Right.
So the thing is, you will try to block.
Okay.
So you will, for instance, make sure, here's a way you can block. You can put the child, I don't know the age of the child, but if it's appropriate, you would put them in clothing.
One is 8.
8 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you want to put them in overalls.
Okay.
Things that are harder to open.
Okay.
Right? So that if they are, let's say, having a bowel movement outside of their clothes. If they're having a bowel movement inside their clothes, maybe you want to actually just be able to have clothing that's easier to come off, so that they are not having it in their clothes.
Okay.
This is kind of a complicated way to answer, but it's always... try to prevent the behavior from happening, and if it happens, then make sure you're not rewarding it. In fact, you should be taking away rewards. But a lot of kids don't understand response cost unless your child's high functioning enough.
Right.
And if he does understand the whole concept of losing something when I do this behavior, then you're all set, because then he just has to lose something every time he does this behavior. And then you can turn it into a token system, and it's a gradual intervention fade, so it doesn't become that heavy. But the concept is always the same. You prevent the behavior as much as you can, and if it occurs, you will want to not reward it. So you'll want to either punish it or take an object away, which is sort of a form of punishment, or response cost. Okay. And meanwhile, find if it's a sensory need that provoked it to begin with, give him other sensory activities. Okay. Right? So like finger painting or whatever it is, or have him, when he doesn't do it for periods of time, perhaps you have something like give him chewing gum or stuff that was a taste activity. This is the thing, Shannon, was you have to understand, this is why a behaviorist always has to figure out the reason. Yeah. So if this child is doing it because they have a textural sensory need, then you need to replace that. If they're doing it because they enjoy the odor or the sense in their mouth, then you have to replace that. So you have to replace it with things that have a similar satisfactory type thing. And you can just think of anything, smelling perfumes or chewing gum or whatever it might be. If they are doing it simply because they have a nutritional deficiency, you have to replace that, right? If they're doing it to get your attention or out of curiosity, you got to replace that. Give them other things that they can get your attention from.
So in the best possible world, have your child have a blood test done to make sure that they're not low in anything, and maybe ask your AB provider to do
an FBA. Exactly. Have a functional assessment done to figure out why the child's doing it. Okay. Maybe you're a parent that can really figure that out on your own. Then make sure you're replacing that and rewarding the more appropriate replacement behavior. Yeah. And blocking this. Yeah. Because unless you block this, it'll just keep going.
I'm struck by, she says, I'm freaking out. And I think that a lot of times when these kinds of behaviors suddenly crop up, that there is an emotional component for the parent. It's like, my gosh, what is this? And it's disgusting. And, but what I'm really hearing is you still go back to the same equation of make sure there's nothing else going on. Right. And then find out what the function is, and then you can deal with it from there.
And here's by the way, a good aversive, okay? If you should not catch it, and if it should happen, make sure that you brush your child's teeth with some extremely strong mouthwash.
Okay.
Your child's not going to like that. You're going to be using something that's going to produce disinfection, which is important.
Right.
And it'll function as an aversive.
Okay.
It's just that simple. Like, you know, kids will, this is the whole concept of, you say bad words, I wash out your mouth with soap, right?
Right.
But in this case, you really do need a disinfectant.
Right.
And so use something that's pretty intense, like Listerine. You know,
Right.
is it Listerine, the ones that are horrible? The
Some of those taste good now, so
not
make sure
the
you don't
minty
get
ones,
not, yes.
the really strong ones.
That one that's yellow.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about.
Cepacol, I want to say, or something like that.
Cepacol, those are really strong, right? And you actually do need to do that just for the safety, health, and safety of your child. And I guarantee you, if you do it fast enough, your child will connect it to your child will know, oh my God, you know, every time I do this, I'm getting this disgusting stuff to wash out my mouth. They won't do it again. And it's kind of as Shannon said, as you said, Shannon, this does have a lot of it is just psychological, you know, and it bothers you because of that. Don't look at it that way. Just look at it as our kids do things because they're not embarrassed. They just do what their body needs or what they, you know, what they get a reaction for.
Sure. All right. We question about, and I want to bring this up only because we want to talk about the anxiety show coming up, but somebody wants to know, does puberty have a role in anxiety because of hormones? And again, I want to remind everybody that 2 weeks from today, that Wednesday right before Thanksgiving on the 27th of November, you've been asking for it. Dr. Grandpichet has agreed to do it, an entire hour on anxiety.
A Wednesday before,
Yep,
right.
so it's that Wednesday the 27th during Ask Dr. Doreen. She will be talking with us about anxiety. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions. We're going to devote the whole hour because we want to be thankful for peace, right?
Yes.
Right? So having said that, puberty, does it have a role in anxiety because of the hormone?
Yes. The short answer is no question about it. You see that also in typically developing kids. You see that in women with menopause.
Thank you.
I mean, a hormone change will cause anxiety because you are experiencing things that you're not comfortable with or familiar with, and especially if you have like a shift in estrogen, then you are actually going to experience anxiety on its own. If you have testosterone, boys, aggression often is similar in anxiety. Like you have a similar feeling when you're very upset or angry or hyped up. Neurotransmitters are running high, dopamine and all of that, and then it'll be similar to anxiety. So yeah, you will see puberty affecting anxiety for sure. But you also with typically developing people, by the time you hit puberty, you have other what we call defense mechanisms or ways to cover yourself or protect yourself so that you're not as anxious. Habits. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of teens start to do things like drugs
and smoking
and all these other things because they're seeking out ways to kind of have less anxiety. That's why peer pressure, because once you feel part of a peer group, you have less anxiety, all of that. But, and then there's healthy ways to control it as well, which is some of the stuff we're going to talk about in 2 weeks.
Well, which we will look forward to. And if you have questions about anxiety, you can start sending them now. I'll put them in a file so we can have them specifically for that show. We're almost out of time, so I just wanted to take a second and let people know that you have, I can't get it to come up on my screen for whatever reason, but you have an event that's coming up in Florida that you're going to be speaking. I believe it's on the 5th of December. Does that sound right, or is it the 4th? Do you know?
I don't know. I think it's the 5th. I'm not sure. I just go and speak where they tell me to, but I think it's it's that Thursday.
And if you go to centerforautism.com on the front page, I just can't get it to come up right now on my device. I have gremlins. You can register for that event, and it's important that you register RSVP.
It's in Fort Myers.
Okay.
And I think... I'm not sure the length of the thing, but I think we're reviewing the card program, and it'll be a pretty small group because we do this usually when we want to open a location, and we really want to open a location right now in the Fort Myers area And so I will be there speaking. I'd be happy to, help advise parents who come and hear the talks as well.
If you're in that area, it's a great opportunity to meet Dr. Grant-Pichet, and so we encourage you to RSVP for that. And also in the news today, there is a press release about CARD helping older kids, and so I wanted to give you just a couple of seconds to talk about.
That came out today.
So many of you people will ask about what about programs for our kids that are a little bit older. You've always been helping our teenagers and young adults on the spectrum.
We've had a lot of back and forth with this. We've done a lot of work with adults for many years, but we've really done a big initiative in the recent years, and we're very focused on kind of teaching our adolescents just daily living skills and so on, but then also preparing them for jobs. So we've really gone into leisure, self-help, daily living, but now mainly a lot of vocational, because we want to make sure our kids end up doing things that are functional and have a place to. My dream, I always say this, and I keep saying it because I believe ultimately it'll come true, is some sort of a community, where we can have our kids learn vocational skills and live there and also work there and have all sorts of things in the community for them. This is kind of timely given your next guest.
I was just going to say it all dovetails well together.
Yeah. So we're doing a lot of vocational stuff with our adults now, and it's an important thing for us. And we hope to just be able to reach more and more adults and be able to help them.
Well, we thank you so much for all of that. And as Dr. Grant-Pichet mentioned, in the next hour, we're going to take a break in just a second, and then when we come back, it'll be time for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson will be here with me, and Thorkil Sonne is going to be joining us via Skype. He is an amazing autism dad and an entrepreneur who's really at the forefront of trying to get the proper training to have our individuals, young teenagers and adults on the spectrum, be able to use the skills that they have to help our world and to help themselves to be not just employable in a small way, but employable in incredible technology jobs. That's really fabulous. We can't wait to talk with him. So that coming up in just a few minutes. But we thank Dr. Grant-Pichet for being here with us. We'll look forward to having you next week. And as we go to break, we're going to the A Word. This is the ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. And this gives you a little slice of what that early intervention can look like and how much can happen for a child in those young early years. Take a look at what Jack Riley is up to this week.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack.
Jack Riley.
He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
Exciting.
I say Jack, Jack, Jack is my buddy. Jack is my buddy. Everybody around is so down with Jack.
This is the kind of... Come inside, please. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Come on, dude. There's a lot of toys in here.
I said Paul's not coming over today.
Thank you.
I didn't like to see Paulo today, and I didn't like him.
Yeah, don't attend that.
Let's go. Let's go find some toys.
I'm sad I didn't like Paulo.
Let's go. Jack Riley, go play.
What? Oh, to come over today.
He's just so argumentative about everything. Paulo's not coming today. I said, Paulo's going to be there. Paulo's not coming.
Redirected to ask me, is Paulo coming today?
Okay.
Yes, Paulo's coming today. End of discussion. And redirected to something else.
Play.
Like how we redirected him into playing instead of perseverating on the fact that everyone's here and he doesn't want whoever to come over.
In the last week, he's wet himself several times. It's like he's sliding back a little bit. He's either lost interest in it or control. I don't know.
So if he hasn't gone within 2.5 to 3 hours, you guys need to remind him. Remind him of the reinforcer to initiate. Do you guys have a reinforcer set?
Yeah, it's different every time.
It's
like right
different
now, we've
every
been working on stickers for Lego City.
How many stickers do I need to get to Lego City?
I think you need 20. Do you know how many you have right now? If you don't know, you can ask Dad. You say, Dad, how many stickers do I have left?
Dad, how many stickers do I have
You
left?
have 17, so you only have 3 left.
Ooh, you only need 3.
That's 20 minus 17 is 3.
Cool.
17 is 3.
Okay.
Whoa.
So 3 times today, if you say, I have to go pee-pee, and you go pee-pee, then you're going to get Lego City today. So it reminds him about the reinforcement system that's in place, so he knows right away what he's earning. Because if it takes him a while to remember, then it means it's probably not worth it enough to him.
Okay, I hear you.
You guys alluded to my graphs on parental thing, like what I'm strong at, what I'm not. Just tell me what I'm weak at. I can take it.
We can make you a cheat sheet.
All right.
I'll tell you right now. So non-compliance, as far as following through with non-compliance, what's happening?
No, like when Mike gives an instruction and he doesn't comply, Mike does follow through. I think maybe, because sometimes it's like the spur of the moment, maybe sometimes you might need to do a preference assessment of what he wants.
Well, let me tell you what happened last week. I got to a point where he's sitting down, and I picked the smallest thing to get a sticker for. I said, stand up and you can have a sticker for Lego City, which has been a big deal. He wouldn't stand up. I just ran out of ideas.
So what did you do? What did you do when you didn't stand up?
What's that? I tried to pick him up from his
Yes.
and sit right down. He did the lifeless body thing.
And then what happened?
Well, I kept picking him up and he kept sitting down. And he kicked my ass. I lost.
I would say that would be your number one thing to work on.
Okay.
Is it does not matter how much he tests you, he is going to stand up.
And you know, it's. I'm sure you guys could have gotten him through it. One tough thing after another. Whatever skills I have go out the window. That's the part that's pissing me off.
Well, and I think he knows that too. I
Okay.
think he knows that he's majorly pushing a button with you.
Okay.
And it's one that he does have control over.
Yeah.
Because like you will sit with
Pisses
him.
me off
after
that
he is-
4-year-old's kicking.
No, it's just you have a very strong history of that happening, and so it's going to be extra hard for you to work through it.
Right.
But you can. You just have to really stick with it.
Okay.
Paula, I.
Oh, nice.
You gotta say it better.
You gotta say it better.
How I need to go.
Better, dude.
Jack Riley, you are not going to get a sticker if you're silly about it. You have to say, Paulo, I have to go potty. And if you don't say it, then you don't get a sticker and you're still going to have to go potty.
Try again, dude.
I have to go potty.
Thank
All right,
you.
good job, bud.
Okay, go potty.
Wow, better.
Give me, show, so it's right here. Contrives. How do you feel? I don't know. Should I open it?
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jet. I got a nice warm seat for you right here, dude.
It's a time
We're
to
going to
go
put the
yet.
first date it was run, which was 6:14.
But it was time to go.
Introduce.
Seat, bud.
But it's time for me to go.
Jet, have a
Time
seat.
for me to go.
Try again, bud. Have a seat.
Game over. Oh,
What does the door have?
This is torture. He threw a tantrum in there, and I was glad to be sent out of the room. Regression might be a strong word, but he's not in school anymore, so I think he's sort of slid back a little bit. Whatever school did for him, I think he's missing it, maybe. Sort of depressing when you feel like you should be better at handling his tantrums and putting him out, and really I don't know that I'm helping a great deal right now.
Daddy is waiting for you to be all done. It is time for you to go home. You are not leaving until you get all of your tokens. You need to answer nicely.
I'm calling Daddy. I need to go.
Try again, dude. What does a bear have on its skin?
I feel like I'm sort of back at square one. I'm reacting emotionally as opposed to the skills I'm learning. It's just you start doubting yourself, and then once you start doubting yourself, I think you don't react as you should when he's having a problem.
Hey, Jack. What does your refrigerator have?
It has a handle.
Good, dude. Look, you're so fast, dude.
I'm
Okay.
so sad.
Tell me what a cabinet has.
It has a handle.
Good, dude. Jack, tell me what a bird has.
It has a feather.
Yeah, it has feathers, dude. Alright, last one, dude. Tell me what a zebra has.
It has stripes.
Up top, dude. All done.
He's fine. He's not a grudge holder. I mean, but I wanted him to hug everybody because it was a tough session. So.
Oh my goodness, thank you. I'll see you at school tomorrow.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson wearing my Movember mustache.
And I'm Shannon Penrod wearing my black one now. Dr. Jonathan Tarbox drew a red one on me last Friday.
Oh, he did?
But,
okay.
But it didn't show up as well, and so I wanted us both to have these.
Okay.
And he was the one who, I had seen all the pictures, everybody having their mustaches.
Right.
And I didn't know, I thought it was just supporting mustaches, but it's for men's health issues, in particular prostate cancer.
Which is a subject very near and dear to my heart. My husband, Reed Jackson, has battled prostate cancer for 20 years now. And he was diagnosed 20 years ago and has been through multiple rounds of chemo and radiation and had a radical prostatectomy and still is going strong and at the moment is cancer-free. So
thank goodness.
Yeah.
Well, and so we just wanted to support our men for a couple of seconds, so I made us these little mustaches on sticks.
Okay.
Because I have nothing to do, but I have just nothing but free time.
Okay.
But anyway, so thrilled to be here
get
today.
your PSA checked, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Very important. And, you know, a lot of men I know they're fearful about this. The earlier detection, the better. Reed, my husband, was diagnosed at an early age because his prostate cancer, when he was diagnosed, the earlier you are when you get it, the faster it can spread, the younger you are, because there's more testosterone in your system. They believe that 1 in 3 men will have prostate cancer before they die. However, it will not kill them because most of them get it at a later age.
Okay.
But it is very underfunded, actually.
And it's something that, you know, for all the women watching, we need to, I'm definitely hearing this for myself, we need to be on our men about making sure that that happens. You know, there are 3 cancers that are much more likely to happen in a family that has a child with autism. One is breast cancer, one is prostate cancer, and the other one is colon cancer.
Interesting.
So we need to be up on making sure that we get those regular screenings so that we're around to celebrate as our kids make progress.
Yes.
And isn't that a wonderful thing? We've got a really exciting show for here going this hour is going to be amazing, but it starts with the fact that every hour on Autism Live now we're giving away something. This hour it is a $25 gift card to Walmart. Great for someone either to give as a gift, as a teacher gift, or to a therapist. Everyone can use a Walmart gift card.
Oh yeah, they have so much stuff there.
Absolutely. So $25 gift card. At some time during this hour, a word will flash on the screen. You will need to write that word down, and Emily will flash on the screen for you here the address that you need to email. Make sure that you put in the subject line the $25 Walmart gift card and the correct word. Of the correct responses, you have till 7 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow morning. Someone will be chosen at random to win that $25 gift card from Walmart, and we thank Walmart for providing that. So, having said that, we have a couple of stories in the news, and then we have a great guest coming up in just a few minutes. Do we want to start with this, or do we want to hit something?
Well, there's an interesting study about some new research.
Let's talk about that.
That I was surprised. More neural connections, not fewer, seen in the brains of children with autism. They have a higher than normal number of connections. And this may be a reason for these kids' social difficulties. This was in the November 7th issue of Cell Reports, and it says the findings challenge the current belief that the brains of autistic children have fewer neural connections than the brains of typically developing children. The findings could lead to new ways to detect autism early and new treatment methods. So this study addressed one of the hottest open questions in autism research. I can't pronounce this man's name, of the Stanford University School of Medicine. And the kids are hyperconnected. So in a way that made sense to me, because maybe that's why there's such a sensory overload, because there's a higher number of neural connections and a lot going on, like maybe contributing to what I would consider like a scrambling in basic pedestrian terms.
Absolutely.
But I found it very interesting, and they said that somehow measuring the levels of connectivity in the area of the brain could help in autism diagnosis, but it also said that an imbalance in brain circuit activity is seen in epilepsy, and that may explain why many children with autism have epilepsy. And drawing from these observations, it may not be too far-fetched to speculate that existing drugs used to treat epilepsy may be used to treat autism.
Well, interesting, and we'll look forward to having more research about that to shed light on that. We have a story for you from the Autism Daily newscast that there is a young man who is missing, has been missing for 5 days with Asperger's from Dallas, Texas, but it is now believed that he might not want to be found. The headline is "Missing Man with Asperger's May Not Want to Be Found." From Dallas, Texas, Luis Aran has now been missing almost 5 days. Police from the neighboring village of Irving actually spoke with the missing 28-year-old man without realizing that he had been reported missing. After a few minutes of talking with the man, he did not respond, and he ran off into a field. This was on Monday afternoon, 2 days after Arad left his home in Bedford and went missing. He had been upset about an argument with his parents and appears to have left on purpose.
Okay.
Excuse me. This was the first time that he has run away from home. And his stepfather, Luke Vermeulen, issued a statement to the local press saying, "Luigi, come home if you can. If you can't, let us know where you're at, please. We understand what you're feeling. We'll try and work out whatever we can work out. We're just concerned." While they don't have more information about this, and his whereabouts remains unknown, it is not uncommon, as they report here, for an individual in the autism spectrum to be wary or fearful of those they do not know, as well as having concerns about being in trouble. So we have a picture of Luis, and we want to let you know if you're anywhere in the Dallas area and you see Luis, please let the authorities
know so they can deal with it. Don't try to approach him.
Absolutely.
And let the authorities know so the professionals can come in and help talk to this young man and maybe explain to him that, you know, he can go home and it will be resolved.
Absolutely. We hope that that will come to a quick and speedy and happy ending.
The other major news was that Kathleen Sebelius announced mental health parity at an Atlanta conference, and basically this is going to require that mental health be given the same consideration as general medical care under insurance copays.
Yes, and we've known for a while. There's been a Mental Health Parity Act. We've known about this, but it needed to be further defined. There were still some loopholes that and some questions that people were having, and so it has been further defined. And it's good news for a lot of people. If your policy is covering something for mental health, what it's going to do is remove the caps on how much they can allow you to charge for autism.
Okay.
So if you were in a car accident and you had to have some sort of therapy, rehabilitative behavior therapy for that, and they'll fund up to $1 million for it, then they have to fund the same for autism. Currently, your policy may say that you have a $36,000 a year cap. That will be wiped away. It will be even with anything that your policy covers for mental health. That's really good news. The bad news is it still isn't going to require people who have self-funded insurance to cover mental health.
Okay.
So, you know, it is another question about if you want to look at your policy, see if it covers mental health. If it does, it's going to apply. If it doesn't, you may not see a change in 2014.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for the clarification on that. Now, are we going to show my little boy's birthday pictures?
We are. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait until...
Let's show some of them. It was my son Wyatt's 12th birthday, and I want you to know that it was the best party because I hired, or I guess really funded, a program, Saving Wildlife International, which is run by a young man in my neighborhood named Steve Marin, I believe is his name. And he brings his little safari mobile with his wild animals. It is an actual foundation, so when you pay for this party. Now there's Wyatt making his cake. He made a GFCF cake. As you can see, he's very proud. There we are licking the bowl.
bowl, which is a favorite part of making the cake. And here we are holding a giant boa constrictor that came to the party. All kinds of animals. There you see the tortoise and some of Wyatt's classmates. There's an alligator. There is a baboon, and boy, is that baboon big. He is a giant, and Steve did not let the kids touch that baboon. I guess he can be a little unpredictable. There's a little fox. Now that fox had rickets and had no teeth. But this was such a fun thing to do for a birthday. I urge any of you, you can contact us here at the show if you'd like the connection to Saving Wildlife International, because they are in the Los Angeles area and will come to parties. And the fee they charge supports taking care of these animals. But I've never seen a group of kids more transfixed.
Right.
And it really was wonderful for me because so many years in the past at Wyatt's birthday parties, he's just been running around and not really focused. But here he was really focused. He was really into the animals.
It's educational.
And when it was over, he said, "Mommy, it was the best birthday ever."
Yeah.
And another really interesting thing occurred. We were out, we live in a small ranch house on an acre, and we do have a large horse and a little horse. We donated one of our horses to an assisted riding program. And the kids were allowed to walk the little horse. And one of Wyatt's classmates said to another classmate, "I wish I was Wyatt." And I heard her say that. And it shocked me. It stunned me because, of course, from my perspective, my son has autism. Why would another child want to be him? So I said to her, "Honey, I heard what you said. Why did you say that?" She said, "Because he gets to live here with horses and he gets to paint. He's an artist and he has this great yard." In her world, autism wasn't even a part of the equation. It was just that he was a lucky little boy.
Yeah. And isn't that wonderful to get somebody else's perspective on it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that really kind of, put me into my, where I needed to be, because once again, that run your own race, as I say in my Autism Empowerment for Parents, we're running our own race. Don't get caught up in comparing your child to other children, their progress on the road to recovery with another child. There's always going to be a child that does better in terms of making gains. There's always going to be a child who doesn't make gains. And somehow, whenever I'm feeling a little bit, why can't my child be doing, accelerating more rapidly? I always get a wake-up call. I get the message loud and clear. This is your experience. This is your child, and cherish every moment.
Yeah, because there's a lot there to be cherished. And which segues really nicely into our guest.
Yes.
Thorkil Sonne is going to be with us in just a few minutes. And he's an autism dad who looked at his child and said, I think there are some amazing strengths here, not only for my child, but for a lot of individuals on the autism spectrum. This could be an amazing gift to the world.
Yes, it could. He is really shaking up the entire world on the way we perceive autism as not a deficit, but where the strengths are. We're going to talk to him about that. And I think what's so exciting is everybody's taking notice because, let's face it, money speaks.
That's right.
And if we can have our kids and individuals with ASD, if we can have them make money, be a center of profit as opposed to being a drain. And that's where his particular genius has come in. And he's really received worldwide acclaim. And we're going to talk to him about how all this developed, where his company, Specialisterne, is today, and his plans for taking this global.
Very exciting. So we hope you'll stick with us. He's going to join us right after these messages. We'll be right back.
Hi, we're at the Toys R Us in Porter Ranch, California. And Emily and I are going to take a little tour around the store and find some great toys for some great kids.
All right, let's go.
Come with us.
Yes.
Okay. Bring your dinosaur and come on, let's go look at things in the game aisle.
Okay.
I know you love games.
I do love.
All right. So here we are in the game aisle, Emily, and I want to show you that there's all these games that you can get for kids of all ages. They're interactive and really remarkable. One of the hot toys this year and many other years is the Bop It toy.
Okay, so what about the Bop It is so reinforcing?
Well, you know what? It can be interactive. It can be a social game. It makes lots of noises. Sometimes they light up depending on the version. It helps to work on fine motor skills, and it helps to work on fluency. This toy will grow with the child, and in fact, you can get it in different versions. This is a little bit more complex. And up top here, we have one that's especially for older kids. It's called the Smash the Light. I would wait until a child is older to play with this one. So should we check out the Lego aisle?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's go. So how can we use Legos to help our kids?
Well, they're really spectacular toys for our kids because they work on executive functions and planning. They're really colorful. You can work on colors and grouping and matching, counting, because they have the little dots on the top. And if you have a younger child, you can start with the Duplo toys that are compatible with Lego and don't have the choking hazard.
So then as the kids get older, what's great about Legos, it looks like, is that there's all sorts of themes. We've got movies here and video games, so the kids can really connect with what's personal to them. So Legos are amazing, but what else do we have to see?
Let's look at some educational toys in the leapfrog aisle, shall we? Okay.
Okay, so what do you have here?
Well, we're in the leapfrog aisle. This particular toy, very popular this year, is a leap reader. It comes with a little pen, and it tells us that we're going to read, write, and listen, all skills that we want to work on with a child. This pen that's in this box, you can put it over different pages in the book. It will read aloud to the child. They can trace their letters. It reinforces them for doing a great job. It's a really spectacular toy for our younger kids that are working on reading, writing, and listening.
This looks like a lot of fun and a really great way to help our kids learn to read and write.
Absolutely.
What else are we going to play with today?
I think we should take a trip down the functional pretend play aisle. This is where you're going to find all the things that are like real, but the toy version. So I've got this lovely set here that's all fresh vegetables, so I'm teaching nutrition at the same time. They're all appropriately colored, but I've got a knife so I can be cutting them too. This is really great play for a young child.
Shannon, I heard you got some toys that I get to play with now.
Yes, I'm going to take you to the demo table. We're going to let Emily play with some toys, and we're going to be giving some of these toys away on the show. But they're not just any toys. These are toys that are featured in this year's Toys R Us toy guide for differently abled children. And this is put together with the help of our friends at Lecotech.
So what do all these different icons mean?
These are different icons that tell us what skill this toy might help to develop in our children.
So can I play with the toys now?
Yes, it's time to play with the toys, Emily.
So I think I recognize this guy.
Yes, this is the ever popular and very sweet Elmo. But this is a very specific Elmo that teaches adaptive skills like zippering.
Almost yellow triangle zipper.
And so we get the reinforcement of Elmo talking to us when we do these things. There's a let's keep playing. So it encourages the child to continue to interact. And he's very reinforcing. When he giggles, I just want to hug him and play with him some more. Okay, so moving on, let's look at some Melissa and Doug toys. These are incredible toys. They'll last several different generations because they're made out of good quality wood.
Awesome.
And let's start with a lace and trace toy. Now, I happen to know that you love turtles,
I do
Emily.
love turtles.
And this is a set of farm animals lace and trace. And the child can pick out a color that they like for a lace.
All right.
And there are lots of different things that they can do with this. And I know it might seem like this is an old-fashioned toy, but you know, sometimes the old-fashioned toys are the best toys. Because what you're doing right now, Emily, is that you're using a lot of hand-eye coordination and you're using the pincer grasp. This is a precursor to writing right here. If you've got a child who's having difficulty holding a pencil, this is a really reinforcing way to work on this. And it comes in lots of different things. And then also for Melissa and Doug, we have this amazing switch and spin. Love this so much. This is a great cause and effect toy. As we start to put the gears together, we notice that when you turn one, another one can turn. You can rearrange this and do it in lots of different ways. There are 10 design boards, so you don't have to just do fish. There are other things that you can put there instead.
That's awesome.
Kids love this toy, and it's another Melissa and Doug toy.
Cool.
All right, let's take a look at some fun games.
So I found this game, and it's called Fibber. So Shannon, I'm going to need you to put on your fibbing glasses.
I want a fib.
All right. So this game is totally reinforcing, and it helps our kids to work on lying.
Yes, and that's something we really, I know it sounds strange, but we want to work on that because being able to tell a lie is something that helps with safety issues. And also being able to tell if somebody else is lying is a really useful life skill.
What you need to do is get rid of your cards without trying to grow your nose, kind of like Pinocchio.
Okay.
But if you get caught...
And so eventually you can have a whole string of noses attached to the end of your nose. Very colorful. Again, we can be working on the colors. Kind of hilarious. A kid's going to want to play this with mom or dad and see that mom is Pinocchio telling lots of lies. I like this game a lot.
This is a great game.
We've had a really great time at Toys R Us, and all of the toys that you see here on the table we're going to be giving away on the show. So stay tuned to find out how you can win one of these great toys.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Thorkil Sonne is the founder of the not-for-profit Specialist People Foundation, which owns the for-profit Specialisterne, which was founded in 2004 to make a future for Thorkil Sonne, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. Sonne has a background in IT and is chair of a local autism organization. He's been honored with the Autism Prize 2004 by Autism Denmark and IT Prize by the Danish IT Industry Association. He was also named Brave Thinker by the Atlantic Magazine and Intelligent Optimist by Ode Magazine. We are pleased to have a pioneer who is changing the way the world thinks about those with autism. Welcome, Mr. Thorkil Sonne.
Well, thanks. It's a pleasure to be in your studio.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you by Skype coming to us, and you are quite the world traveler these days. Tell us, if you can, in a nutshell, what your company, Specialisterne, is.
Yes, Specialisterne is Danish for the specialists. It's an attempt to set up the requirements needed for people with autism to find their comfort zone and bring that comfort zone into the labor market in a way that is to mutual benefit for the individuals and for the corporate sector that actually can benefit a lot from the skill sets of people with autism.
Now,
and as Nancy mentioned in the beginning in her beautiful introduction, you have a son, and that he really inspired this company. Tell us why.
There's Lars. We have a picture of you and Lars playing chess there.
Guess who won?
Lars. Yes. Tell us about Lars and how he inspired you to do all of this.
Yes. So my wife and I have 3 kids, and Lars is the youngest one. And when he was about 3 years old, we got a lot of reports from the kindergarten saying that it was difficult for them to engage in social activities. He tended to seek the quiet corners or the swing in the garden. But there are not many quiet corners in kindergartens in Denmark. So it was really a problem for them how to deal with him. We were surprised because at home, in his comfort zone, he was very much like his siblings. He was bright, trustworthy, caring child like any parent would want. So we were taken by surprise that suddenly we have a disabled child, a disorder. And we were told quite frankly that now we have to change the plans for our family. Now we have to be the interpreters between a world that he may not understand and him who will not understand the world. And well, we thought ahead, and as long as we have the power to do so, we'll fight his battles at any time. But we also grow old, and one day we're not there anymore. and what would make a good life for Lars. So we thought that if he could be respected for his nice yet untraditional personality and for his many skill sets in a job, then we would rest assured that he would have a good life when we're not there anymore. But I also learned from being active in the autism organization in Denmark that the society is drifting in another direction. The labor market is getting much more and more rigid on the social skills, and you're really lost if you cannot comply with the first questions in any job ads. Tell me about your flexibility, empathy, teamwork abilities, and so on. And we thought, well, maybe it's not our son and all the other people I got to know in the autism organization that is the problem. Maybe it's our society that is drifting in the wrong direction. So Specialisterne is an attempt to send a wake-up call to society that there's a lot of talent being left on the table in a situation where the corporate sector is short on people who excel in IT and science, technology, engineering, math, and where society is facing a demographic challenge where there are too few in the labor market to feed too many outside the labor market. So it's time for a wake-up call, and the best way to change the mindset will be to show the way, and Specialisterne is our attempt to do so.
Okay.
Remarkable.
Well, we're going to take a brief break, and we're going to come back, Thorkil, to learn a little bit more about how you took this idea and made it a reality, and how you're really getting people to start thinking about what they can learn from employees with autism, and how we can appreciate them for their strengths. So we will be back with more in a moment with Thorkil Sonne.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your VIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with that.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Via Skype, we have with us Thorkil Sonne, and he is a remarkable autism dad and an entrepreneur and the founder of Specialisterne, a remarkable organization that is helping the world change to fit the needs of our kids on the autism spectrum to make them ultimately employable. So, Thorkil, explain to us what the dandelion model is.
Yes. The seed of the dandelion is our logo. The dandelion is loved by kids in Denmark. They blow dandelions, they make necklaces, they paint each other's faces yellow. But as you grow older, something happens. And if you buy a house with a garden and you see the wonderful plant again, probably the love has turned to hate. Because now it's a weed, annoying because it breaks the illusion of a perfect garden. And your norms have changed, so now the norms are that your garden should be at least as perfect as the neighbors, and only the plants that you have allowed are welcome in your garden. But the plant is the same, and if you take it from the lawn and put it in the kitchen garden, treat it well, it will give you so much back. It's very productive, can be used for natural medicine, nutrition, coffee, tea, wine, beer, salad. And there's a farmer in Denmark who makes a living out of growing dandelions. Treat the plant as an herb instead of a weed. Because what is a weed? A weed is a plant in an unwanted place, and herb is a plant in a wanted place. So, and that's also, there's a parallel to autism. When there are articles about autism in Danish papers, it's mostly about how the prevalence has increased and how costly it is, and it puts pressure on our education system and welfare system. That's the weed perspective. We should also have stories about how this people with autism could mean a fantastic advantage for a knowledge-based global market economy. The companies who wake up and see the herb and put the herb in their kitchen garden will have so much back. The companies, they really need innovation, and innovation very much comes from the edges of mainstream, and that's where we bring in people. So the dandelion model is always to see the herb angle, and if you see a person with autism, try to look beyond the disability and disorder and some behaviors that may not be mainstream. Try to look at the strengths, at the herb, at what interesting mind is in this person, and how can we work together to accommodate this person, to make the person fit into the workspace, so we can get access to all the values.
Well, let's talk a little bit more, Thorkil, about, now we understand you are the dandelion grower, so to speak, and so much so that the Harvard Business Review titled an article about you, entrepreneur Thorkil Sonne, on what you can learn from employees with autism. So you are really drawing a lot of attention here, but how have you practically taken some of these individuals with autism spectrum disorders and used them in Specialisterne? How do you assess their abilities and then fit them into a job?
Well, the first thing we do is to meet potential corporate partners and discuss what's the need in their company. Our starting point has been the IT sector. But that's a coincidence. That's because I had my background in that business area. I claim that in any business area, at least 5% of all tasks would fit very well with our people. When we know the tasks, we know what's the skill requirement. When we know the business culture, procedures, dress codes, business ethics, then we also know what we should train regarding workability. And then we have to work on motivation as well. Mm-hmm. So we have a picture of which profiles would fit into this specific corporate partner. And then we go out and seek who could be interested and qualified. And we work together with the partners on the supply side. It could be Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. It could be some of the practitioners in training people with disabilities. And then we have a program that focuses on defining the comfort zone of the individual. Many have never been in a work setting before. Some have, and that has been a bad experience. So they have to be kind of regain their confidence with the corporate sector. We When the personal comfort zone has been established, then we work on a team comfort zone where we do a lot of team work and project work in a framework called Scrum that is used in the IT sector for application development. We do a lot of the things that are normally regarded to be very difficult. It's about brainstorming, arguing for your ideas, prioritizing, developing innovative robots, where we use Lego Mindstorms robots a lot in our training program to make it fun, and to make the people we train show us rather than tell us about their profile and motivation and workability. And then the robot solution will be presented for external judges. So it's actually, we challenge them a lot, but the purpose is to learn more about the comfort zone and build a team comfort zone. And then we have some more sessions targeting the different job descriptions that are available through our corporate partners. So,
and they're called consultants, your employees, and then they go out and work for other companies.
yes, or if the corporate partner wants to hire directly, then we do the training, we do the onboarding, and then we make sure that it works, and we set up a mentorship model. Our ambition is to enable 1 million jobs globally, and that we can only do if we can make it attractive for other partners to use our knowledge. And a good example of that is SAP, by which we have, it's one of the biggest IT companies in the world. Mm-hmm. And we have made a partnership by which 1% of their global workforce, which is 65,000 employees, by end of 2020, should be people with autism that we help them on board.
Astounding.
Absolutely. We should take another break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about how parents, because we've had a question come in about how can people access your program, how can they get their young adult involved with what you're doing.
And where your development is now in the U.S., which is we're very interested in. So a brief break, and we'll be right back with more of entrepreneur Thorkil Sonne, who is changing the way the world is perceiving autism.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Our very special guest today is Thorkil Sonne. He is an amazing autism dad and entrepreneur who is really making a difference in the world, helping us all to better utilize the strengths that come along with having an autism diagnosis.
Yes, and actually taking individuals with autism and not only finding a place for them, but finding a place for them where they are productive and make money, because as we know, where the money is, people will listen. And when we can turn our kids into productive, wage-earning members of society, that is when the tide will really change. So Shannon,
we had a question from a viewer who wrote in and said, this is absolutely remarkable. How can I get my 18-year-old involved with what you're talking about?
Well, that depends where the viewer lives. I relocated with my family from Denmark to Delaware in order to lead what will be 100,000 jobs in the US over the next 10 years. And I've been contacted by parents from 85 countries and in the US from, I guess, all the states. So, and I can only say, be patient, I'll find a way.
I have no doubt you will. Tell us.
We're such a big global family, and if we can go from kind of preparing our kids for the world to prepare the world for our kids, then we can make the mindset change that is needed and can lift all of us. Right now, I started in June in Delaware, and we have some great opportunities. We'll start up in New York next week. We will start up in North Dakota. We are pretty advanced in planning for Colorado, and we have some planning activities for South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, and then I think California is up next. As part of the global partnership with SAP, we will be working with SAP in the Silicon Valley, start of next year to onboard people with autism into SAP.
Is there a website or a place that people can connect with Specialisterne?
Yes, there's Specialisterne.com, SPEC. Specialisterne.com.
Yes.
And
we have the spelling of it up on,
yes, we
up
have
on the
it up.
screen right now.
And that's how they can connect with you. Okay. And so you've told us about where you are with the U.S. development, and you said you're also going to Bangalore, to India.
Yes, in 1.5 weeks from now, I'll be going to Bangalore in India to speak at an inclusion summit in Bangalore, and also to visit the SAP lab in Bangalore.
Okay.
It's a global need. It's not just a U.S. or Danish phenomenon. It's worldwide.
Yes,
absolutely.
And we want to ask about Lars. Let's get back to the inspiration for all of this. Your son, Lars.
We're almost out of time, but we don't want to leave without knowing how Lars is doing.
Well, he just started as a sophomore in high school in Delaware, and it has been a major change from the Danish school culture, but he's enjoying it, and he seems happy to go to school now. So we're really proud of him.
And you have hopes that he will be self-sufficient and employable?
Yes. Well, right now his prime ambition is to become a train driver.
Yes, my son as well. Wyatt wants to be a train driver or a conductor.
So we need to do something towards the railway company.
Okay, well, maybe I can help you with that. We can start maybe a business training our kids to be conductors and engineers.
There we go. It sounds great for me.
Thorkil, we can't thank you enough. This is so exciting. My brain is just spinning out of control here, thinking about all the wonderful things you're doing, and we wish you the very best. And what we're going to try to do is get you here into the studio possibly the next time you're out here in California. Does that sound good to you?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, this whole month we're trying to remember all the things to be grateful for, and you're at the top of my list today. I'm grateful for you.
Yes. Thank you for helping change the world for our families and children living with autism.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A remarkable man, a remarkable businessman,
yes.
Smart, and a
obviously
remarkable dad.
Quite brilliant.
Yes.
And it's these innovators, parents. It's the parents that are going to see the diamond in the rough. It's the parents that are going to change the world for our kids with autism and make it a better world. And I have no doubt
that vision that we need to shift the way we look at things.
Right.
That starts with us. So
Yes.
really remarkable. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back to finish out the show. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
We're back.
So exciting, so thrilling to talk to him, and you know, the visions of what's going to happen in future years just makes me very excited. I have to say a couple of quick things though about tomorrow.
Okay.
That we're continuing our giveaway.
Okay.
And every single hour we're going to have other things to give away. Today we gave away a Skills subscription and a $25 gift card to Walmart, make sure that you email in, put in the subject line the gift that you're registering for with the correct word that showed on the screen, word or phrase. Tomorrow, it's going to be, I'm so excited, we're going to be giving away some IBT trainings.
Great.
To be able to give to your teacher.
That's wonderful.
Get your teacher gifts taken care of, and some great bath and gifts that are coming from Lush.
Okay.
So remarkable.
I forgot to mention at the top of the show that tomorrow is a special day on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
Autism Votes.
Yes.
Is urging us to contact our senators, our state senators, our U.S. senators, our representatives, and they are going to be visiting in Washington to rally for a national autism plan. So can you share that tomorrow on the show? Shelley Hendricks sent an email this morning from Autism Votes, and we're going to get that information. Shannon will get you that information tomorrow. It's a big day on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
We need to email, fax, call all of our representatives, come together. Let's get a national plan to help our kids, provide them the care and treatment they need, and the job training and vocational skills.
You can go to autismvotes.com, I believe. I think there's a .org. It's covered either way.
Okay.
And we'll
Tomorrow.
cover all of that on the show as well tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see if we can even get Shelley to drop in tomorrow via Skype, if that's possible.
I think she's going to be very busy in Washington, but maybe she can come in live.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So, but anyway, very exciting show tomorrow. This whole week we're going to be talking about that smart gifting, things that we can give, because you all know on your holiday list you've got therapists, OTs, SLPs.
Yes.
People to get. Do you know what
And
you're
can
gifting
I
this
also
year?
say? Can I also ask people to make a donation? Make a
In somebody's
donation to
name.
Act Today. And say, instead of a gift, instead of another tie you don't need, we made a donation to Act Today to provide the gift of care and treatment to an underserved family with a child with autism or multiple
Great
children
idea.
with autism.
We're out of time, but thank you for being with us, and thank you to our fabulous guests. And we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.